Welcome to the Week 2 devlog for our space game jam. Rich and I are making a cool space game together, and currently we got some cool things that we're playing around with, like sound design, giant planets in the background, and deciding the visual style for how we explore the solar systems. We have our functional close-in weapon systems that can shoot down incoming missiles. We have ships that can actually be disabled now. We have a picture-in-picture, although it is an early prototype. We're sort of getting the UI working. We have a very basic first pass on a Nav Ring. So there's a lot to talk about. Today we're going to be talking about what we accomplished in Week 2 with some previews of Week 3. And if you want to follow along for more daily updates and community feedback and stuff, we have a Discord. I'll leave a link to that in the video description. Lots of people have already joined and offered feedback and even helped us design some of the in-game systems. So it's been awesome. If you guys want to jump into that, I think it's a fun place to be. And if you missed any of the past devlogs, there's a link to the playlist in the video description so you can catch up on any of the previous episodes. So starting off Week 2, we designed a space dust system, which basically propagates tiny little illuminated particles of dust in space, and when you fly through space you move past them and it gives you a good sense of motion in space. Lots of spaceship games do this. You're probably somewhat unaware of it while you're playing, but if they're not there, then you don't really know that you're moving in space unless there's objects around you to tell you that you're moving. So we designed that system. I think it looks pretty good and it's very subtle. I then updated our airlock design to have a slightly different door, and then Rich animated it. We added some light sources to the engines in our game so that if you're close to, say, an asteroid and you punch your afterburners, it'll light up the asteroid around you. Hopefully we can add some fog into the game later so it'll illuminate the fog as you fly through it. This is also when Rich began designing the AI system for the homing missiles, and he got that working pretty quickly, and the ability to spawn in an enemy ship and then target that enemy ship. And it was cool watching this the first time. Now, one of the main weapon systems planned for this game is the CIWS, or the close-in weapon systems. You probably recognize these from aircraft carriers. They're just basically giant miniguns that are hooked up to a radar system that can shoot down incoming fire. And that's going to be a major component of countering incoming missiles in our game. But we have to program one of those and we have to get it to work in game, which is pretty complicated. In fact, I don't really understand what Rich did. Let me have him explain it to you.
The biggest things to happen in Week 2 were the weapons, the missile and the close-in weapon system, or CIWS or CIWS. Conveniently, Unreal has a built-in projectile movement class that saved a lot of time. You can just check a box and you have a homing missile, and then you can adjust a few numbers to adjust the speed and acceleration and things like that. I did have to write a little bit of custom code in order to gradually increase the acceleration over time so that it would have a smoother arc and still hit the target. Before that, it would either come out of the tube and cut over too quick, or it would accelerate too slowly and have a too big of an arc and never hit the target. It would create this orbit effect like you might have seen in the previous video. Gatling turrets are a bit more complicated because I didn't find anything built in to handle intercept prediction. The idea behind the turrets is to predict where an enemy missile is going to meet a turret bullet based on the missile's current speed and direction, and then compared to the speed of the bullet that's going to come out of the turret, and then based on that calculation, decide where to aim and shoot. We found a package on the Unreal Marketplace that has the important math done in it, so we took that and made some changes and improvements for our own needs. Currently, it does this math every frame, but later on, we might optimize it to happen less often, so it might be a tiny bit less accurate, but it'll have better performance. Right now, we're also fudging the accuracy of the turrets by increasing the hitbox around the bullet to be bigger than the bullet itself.
So while Rich was getting all the mechanics of the game actually functional, I decided to go in and remodel our CIWS a little bit, update some textures, make it look a little prettier. I'm still not completely done with it, but we're sort of getting it together. There should be multiple variants of this down the road, and this is just sort of a very basic, bare bones version. This is also when I took the opportunity to play around with Unreal's Chaos Destruction system. This is a cool optional plugin. You turn it on in Unreal, and then you can basically fracture objects in the universe and have them break apart realistically. So I did that with an asteroid. and then applied some particle emitters to each chunk of that asteroid so that when it breaks apart, they'll emit some dust from them. It looks a little funky at times and it needs a lot of tweaking, but I think it's a good foundation for what we want to do in this game, which is give it an environment that feels very reactive. It's fun, but I know I'm going to need to spend probably several days tweaking the system to get it all working and functioning properly before we start propagating the destruction to every asteroid in the game. Rich also added a damage field to the missiles so that those can trigger an asteroid to destroy, and he implemented a very rudimentary targeting system so that we can switch between ships and asteroids if we need to test out different things. Now, the rest of the week we spent a lot more time doing CIWS testing and dialing it in and figuring out what worked and what doesn't work. Rich also started working on a rudimentary Nav Ring, which can, at the moment, just show a little red dot on screen indicating the direction of an enemy ship. This will, of course, evolve to be much more complex. Here's some of the concept art showing some of my initial ideas for the Nav Ring, and I think it's going to evolve even beyond this. And we'll talk about how Rich built that a bit more next week as we build more onto it. Now, in the background, we're also creating tons of development documents to help us sort of move through tasks a little bit more efficiently. And I wrote out a basic mission plan for what we want in our Game Jam demo. And the mission's a little bit ambitious. I definitely added a few more things in there, but one of the things I wanted in this mission was essentially a boss fight, a boss ship. And I decided, well, I mean, someone's got to model this, so I may as well start now. It's a little bit jumping the gun in the sense that we still have to figure out a lot of stuff about our basic spaceship workflow, but it's at least giving me an idea right now about how long it's going to take to model something a bit bigger. This ship here is going to be either a battle cruiser or a battleship. I haven't really decided, but it's going to be sort of an old war ship that the pirates have managed to apprehend and modify for their purposes. And so this will sort of be like the pirate mega ship for the level, or one of their bigger ships that you have to encounter. It's cool. I hope it gives you a sense of the scale. I think we're going to go even bigger than this ship in the game, but this will be a fairly large ship for this level anyway. And it's fun designing it. It's going to have a crap load of missile pods, crap load of engines, and I can't wait to get this in engine and start testing it out. Now in week 3, we're getting into all kinds of new stuff. Rich is getting ready to implement a cargo system. So I've designed some cargo modules that'll be in space where you can loot stuff. There'll be looting in this game, which I'm really excited about. And then we're working on environmental art. We're working on the basic ship workflow, which once we get that dialed in, it should be much easier to propagate ships into the universe and attach different modules to them very quickly. Tons of stuff going on in week 3. Excited to make that vlog for you next week. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe if you want to see more of it. Ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with us. And up next, check out the original concept video for our space game that kind of gives you a general overview of what we're shooting for. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.